I mean, besides going to church, was
I mean, actually, let me qualify something
Sure.
for you, because I want to make sure this is clear. I am not a subscriber. Both my parents are. My dad is a theologian. My mother she was Catholic. My dad was Episcopalian. She converted to Episcopalianism specifically to marry my dad. This church was so radical, it was almost like a Unitarian church. It just was not that heavy on religion. And if anything, it put me well out of religion, because what I saw in the church, and my dad still is a member of that church, honestly, or not honestly, he's still a member of that church. But my father, he's been involved with the vestry and the whole politics of the church. And I find the politics of churches to be so distasteful and off-putting and inconsistent with the way I understand what the mission would be. I as soon as I had an opportunity to get out of there, I did. And that was my mom. My mom and dad were sort of estranged. And my mom was like, I'm out. I'm not going to church anymore. And I think me and my siblings were like, yay, we're not going either. My dad never stopped going. But so that was 74. So I mean, I'll go with my dad still. I do. It's an important church. They actually, it is still a super radical church. And we have shows there, punk shows. It's long for years and years and years. It's a great punk venue. There's the Washington Peace Center was housed there. We Are Family, senior citizen, low-income senior citizen operations there. Thrive DC's there. Positive Force DC was there. Like all these, they have like a whole building filled with righteous, progressive organizations. They do great work. Like it's the kind of place when it was, pre-pandemic, but you would go in there and there might be like a hip hop cipher in one room and a sewing circle in another room and a fucking drum circle in the third room, circles every fucking where. And I actually love the place and support it, but I am not a religious person at all, just to be clear. So I would say that the congregation and the radicalness of that church really taught me to question authority, and to assume that your government is lying to you.
Yeah.
And I would say that was pretty fucking good lessons. But frankly, public schools had another huge impact on me. Public schools taught me, A, how to wait in line, to be patient, and B, never ask for permission, because a bureaucrat's answer is always no. So you just do it. So for instance, like all the shows we put on here in DC, we don't pull permits for these things. Like the outdoor shows, when you're down the mall or the National Mall or on federal property, you have to get permits. But all these benefit gigs, they're not like technically legal. They were not technically legal. We just did the shows. Why do we need to pay someone to do the show? Is it a benefit? We just don't ask for permission because the answer would be no. You just prepare to apologize, So right, that's it. And to be, and it's just sort of, that plays in. So DCPS had a huge impact on me. I mean, massive. And I'm grateful for it. I think public schools are deeply important environments. People, say like, why aren't you worried about the education? I said, here's the thing about school. Like, public schools are pretty much the only time in a person's life in which he or she will spend almost a daily basis with a wide range of people of any stripe, of any walk of life. And they're only assembled because they happen to be born in a certain year or a certain period of time. Never again will this happen. In the future, you might have a job, and you might be a lot of people working that job, but they all got hired by the same company, and they have different kind of aims. You might go to jail, but everyone's a criminal. You might go to war, but because you're in an army. That kind of collective thing, that is how you learn about living in the world that we live in. It's filled with a wide variety of people, and I'm so grateful. I think that private schools, I'm not trying to beef on them, but I do think that they are selective, literally selective, and quite often it's a matter of how much you can afford.
Yeah.
And I feel like that the lessons, I understand that there's risks in public schools that may not exist in private schools, but maybe those risks are a good thing to think about. I had this sort of vision of, if you had two people in matching kayaks and they had to cross the same body of water, one of them sets off and it's 70 degrees and a crystal clear blue sky and water like glass. And the other one sets off and there's a thunderstorm and terrible winds and choppy waters, unpredictable currents. When they both get to the other side, who's the better rower? That's how I look at it. So I think sometimes the strife that you encounter by being a part of accepting society as a whole, sometimes that's what makes you the better rower. It's how you got through, how you navigated. You weren't being carried through.
I mean, did you see this philosophy? Did your parents back up these ethical beliefs at home? Like your dad, I know he was a reporter, right, for the Washington Post before he was a theologian.
Well, no, he's a theologian first. He was in seminary to be an Episcopal priest in the 50s, and he left to marry my mom and have children.
Really?
And then he became just a regular newspaper guy working for a wire service. Then they moved to New York and then went to Minneapolis. They were in New York and then they moved to Minneapolis working for this newspaper. And then he was on a wire service and he got the White House beat and they moved back to Washington, which when I was born. And my father was he was on the White House press corps, and my father's very first trip with the president was to Dallas, Texas in 1962 or 63, in November of 63. That was his first trip.
Oh God.
Right. So he was in the motorcade. But then he was with the White House with Johnson until 66, at which point the Washington Post came over and they headhunted him. They wanted to have a religion column. So he got hired to do one of the earliest columns just about religion. And he did that for about 7 or 8 years. Then he got involved with in 1975, there was a terrible pressman strike at the Washington Post. Got very ugly. And my father, who's a part of the Writers Guild, and in the leadership position, he, with other leaders, led the guild out on strike. And we were on strike for 6 months. No work. It was a family of 5 on $90 a month. And yeah, it was hard. And, but my father certainly had principles. And of course, I'm sure that played a huge role, and my mom was also super, just brilliant thinker. But I can't say the philosophies, my kind of weird philosophy stuff, that's just me. My dad, I'll be talking to my dad and I'll start breaking. He's like, oh, stop, because, he knows I'm right. But, what they loved about my mother is that she always treated them as equals. Like she's like, let's just have a conversation. It wasn't sort of like, you kids. It was like, and that's sort of the way, it's kind of the way I am. I think everybody's real. I think, I think a kid is real. I don't think people under the age of something are not real. It's one of the true follies of our society is that the sort of notion that young people are not real. And the proof that I have for this is that this question that so many parents and adults have, which is, what are you going to do when you have to get real? Like, when you get a real job? So when you say those sort of things, it really does underscore this notion that you're not real. And if you are made to feel not real, then what difference does it make what the fuck you do? Like, what difference does it make? Like, you might as well fuck up. Because you're not real, and at some point you will get real. It's like this fucking ridiculous born again thing where, like, you can do anything you want, but at some point you'll get the ding from Jesus, and then that everything you're all clear. And I think it's like, I just find it, I think people should be present and take responsibility for their actions and realize that they're real. So I think my mom certainly gave me, like, probably imparted that. She'd say, yeah, like, you're real. You decide, like, what you want to do. My parents, I often say that my family were really supportive, or my parents were supportive, but I didn't understand until years later that was code for they paid for things. But that's not the case not in my world. Quite the opposite. Like, my parents really had very little money, and they've been happy to take the money off of me. They supported me on was, I said, like, I'm not going to go to school. I'm not going to go to college. And they said, okay, if that's what you follow your heart, do what's right for you. So that's what I did. And I remember when I was 29 years old, I was here at Discord House. I was cleaning my room, and I was listening to the first Led Zeppelin album. And there's a song on there called "Your Time Is Gonna Come," which I always love this song. And I was listening to the lyrics, and Robert Plant is singing about, like, he's singing to his girlfriend or a woman who he lived with, like, you've been running around town smoking other people's cigarettes or some bullshit like that. And I'm thinking, like, I'm listening to it, and I'm suddenly struck. I'm like, God, these are really like adult lyrics. And I was thinking about all my lyrics, like, wah, 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 don't do this, don't do that, so I was thinking about it, and I was like, I'm 29, I'm still singing like a kid. Here he is, and he was 18 when he wrote those songs. Like, he had an apartment lived with somebody in an apartment. Like, I lived in a group house. Like, and so I kind of had this moment where, like, the world was like, oh my God, I never grew up, and I called my father up and I said, I don't think I ever grew up. I'm 29. What the fuck? I never grew up. And my dad said, well, he said, I can tell you 2 things. One, when I see you, I think of you as an adult. You're a grown up. I said, oh. He says, the other thing I can tell you is I'm 64 and I can't believe I'm not a kid. And then that's exactly what I probably need to hear. That we are what we are. So that's why when people talk about, like, when someone says to me, like, oh, we're so old, we're getting old, and that kind of shit, I don't want to hear about it, because really, if you're hungry, make some toast, and if you're cold, put on a jacket. If you're thirsty, have some iced tea. If you're bored, take a walk or read a book. But you can't do shit about being old. There's no antidote. You just are. So there's no such thing as being old. You just are. You just woke up. That's all you got to do every day. Wake up and you are. And that's all you can be. And that's how I live. So I don't want to hear about being old. We just are.
But, like, we're right at the end, but I think it's really interesting. Like, I struggle with that, like, the feeling of, like, I still feel like I'm young, yet I know I'm getting older. And I struggle with that all the time, whereas you seem to have found some peace in that, or have always had some peace around
I would say, except for that moment where I was in Led Zeppelin, where I was like, whoa, I would encourage you and anybody to not struggle, because all that struggling is taking up your time, like your life. And I would recommend a cup of tea and take a walk, and then that's what I would do. I would say to do that, because really, if you're in a vehicle, the only thing that you have any control over are the levers that are within reach, and you can't do shit about how old you are. You were born when you were born in the 80s or 70s.
Yeah. Oh, 79.
Okay, so Can you affect that? Can you change that?
Nope.
No. So then shut the fuck up. It's nothing to do with, if you are, you're doing better than the majority of the people who ever lived, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like most people in the history of the world are dead now, right? Although I wonder if there's going to get to a point in time where the living population is equal to or greater than all of the people who've died in the past.
Oh no.
That's an interesting, that'd be something for you to think about. But the truth is, I always have, like, I was walking with my son when my son was born. He's 12 now. And for the first few years of his life, I took him on a walk every morning, no matter what. Since he was an infant, like the day he came home, we went for a walk. And we went for a walk, rain, snow, it didn't matter. We're going out for 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it is. Freezing cold, we're going to do it. The only time that I turned around was because it was sheets of ice and I fell. I can't fall carrying a child. And so one day I was walking, it was a warm, not terribly warm, but it was raining. And I was walking down the street and I saw a homeless guy who, and I said, good morning. And he said, good morning. And he said, how you doing today? And I said, I'm good. It's a beautiful day. And he says, it's always a beautiful day in the land of the living. And he's right. If we made it, it's a beautiful day. So I think that, and this guy, he was on the street. So I always think, I think about, all we got to do is wake up and don't fuck up. That's all.
Yeah, that seems like a really nice place to end, actually. Thank you so much for doing this.